But the world, you see, like, is a vast place.
You know, the continent, we've been able to do some dope stuff. You know?
Dans le rap africain, bien sûr, surtout.
There's the movement of hip-hop, R&B music, house music, all that coming out of not only South Africa, but the continent in general is just amazing right now.
I was surprised how big this scene is in Africa. I did a tour over there, and the DJ before me played so many hip-hop records and so many Afrobeats, both that I never heard before, but had the club rocking. That is such a huge scene.
C'est le hip-hop en tant que culture ou en tant que musique, si on parle du rap, dans une certaine partie du monde, aux États-Unis peut-être, les gens samplaient du funk, enfin de la musique de chez eux, si tu veux. Nous, on a fait pareil avec les ingrédients de chez nous.
Regardless where you from, you know, it's where you at.
Comfortably sitting on my sofa, smoking, floating on this fine air, reflecting on the storm. So far, I'm so far from where I come from, so far from it home. Hip-hop arrived in Angola in the early 90s, influenced by the global rise of American rap music. The genre was introduced during a period of transition for Angola, as the country was emerging from a long civil war which ended in 2002. During this time, many young Angolans in urban areas like Luanda, the capital, were looking for any type of escape and ways to make their voices heard, and hip-hop, among other things, provided that. The genre quickly became a tool for youth to express themselves, especially in the context of their struggles, dreams, and the socio-political issues affecting the country. As the genre developed, Angolan artists began to incorporate their own languages, Kimbundu, Mbundu, and Portuguese, which is the official language, coupled with local sounds and electronic music, creating a dynamic style of hip-hop music. During the 2000s, Angolan hip-hop was being used as an entertainment tool, but often addressed themes such as the country's post-civil war challenges, including poverty, corruption, and more. Talking about these sensitive issues were kind of risky for hip-hop artists of the time, as freedom of expression was restricted in the country's political context of that period. The music evolved during the years, and thanks to its diaspora, as many Angolans fled the country during the civil war, the music scene was blending diverse influences. Some key artists in Angolan hip-hop include Iconoclasta, a key figure in Angolan hip-hop for his activism, whose critics of the regime led him to go to jail in the 2010s, and the female rapper Eva Rap Diva, who managed to stand out in the local scene. Angolan hip-hop has grown steadily over the years, from its underground origins to a recognized genre in a country rich in musical history. However, the genre still faces significant challenges that slow down its evolution, including political repression that has been a constant for years. Despite its decrease lately, it is still an issue and a risk taken by the local artists. The one who critique the government or challenge the status quo may find their music censored or even face legal consequences. The Angolan music industry, like many African industries, face a lack of infrastructure and funding, and while hip-hop is widely popular in Angola, it competes with other genres like kizomba, semba, the Angolan pop music, simply called musica, and the popular kuduro. These genres often dominate mainstream radio and clubs, but hip-hop has nonetheless maintained a loyal following, especially among young people in urban areas. Angolan hip-hop has the potential to evolve into one of the most influential movements in African music as it continues to address both local and global issues while embracing the unique cultural identity of Angola. Hip-hop made its way to Cameroon in the mid-80s. The genre became popular among the youth who were inspired by the success of US hip-hop artists. Early Cameroonian hip-hop groups and artists began to adopt the American style, rapping in English and French sometimes, performing in local clubs, street corners, and other informal spaces. In the 90s, Cameroonian artists began to make their mark by mixing hip-hop with local genres, including Makossa, Bikutsi, and Dombolo, while rapping in local languages such as Pidgin, Ewondo, and Bassa. This fusion of global and local sounds helped create a distinct sound that is recognizable today as Cameroonian hip-hop. The genre, who took over 2 decades to start getting recognition in the popular minds in the country, was associated at first to angry and outcast youth, also due to the themes they would approach and the energy of the songs. Such themes include government corruption, political oppression, but also the struggles of young people in urban areas like insecurity and violence. From the 18th teens to the 90s, hip-hop in Cameroon evolved musically with influences from the US, France and neighboring countries such as Senegal. Among some pioneers of this period, we can name the group Negroicism, formed in the mid-90s, who had a significant impact. The 2000s was a period of significant growth in Cameroonian hip-hop, with a lot of artists coming and going onto the scene, experimenting with the genre. This trend kept going until the 2010s, where some started to stand out, such as Jovi, one of the most influential hip-hop artists in Cameroon, is rapping in Pidgin, English and French mainly. Stanley Eno is another major figure in the Cameroonian hip-hop scene, who like Jovi got success outside the country. Malox is a popular rapper known for his entertaining music, and Tenon known for his versatility. After a slow start, hip-hop managed to become popular and recognized in the Cameroonian music scene. As of today, despite facing many challenges, the genre has shown its capacity to evolve in a difficult context, with artists of the 2010s still dominating the airs. The genre capacity of renewal is again being tested, and its response to this situation will shape the future of hip-hop in Cameroon. Hip-hop arrived in the Central African Republic in the mid to late 90s, following the global spread of hip-hop culture and its growth in francophone countries. The appeal of hip-hop in CAR, as elsewhere, was its raw honesty and the way it addressed real-life issues, from poverty and unemployment to identity and political struggles. From its introduction and during the 2000s, hip-hop enthusiasts in Centrafrique experienced with the genre and started rapping in local languages such as Sango, the national language, or French, the official language, allowing them to connect with their local audiences. However, the genre has remained underground and unpopular to some people. Hip-hop lovers in Centrafrique tend to tap in with what's happening in countries around them, as the genre is not that big locally. Hip-hop in the Central African Republic remains an emerging scene, with a few key artists gaining popularity within the country and its regions. However, the lack of widespread media coverage and limited opportunities for professional music production have made it harder for many artists to reach national and international recognition. The hip-hop community in CAR is small but passionate, and it continues to grow as young people embrace the genre. Despite the many challenges, the future of hip-hop in the Central African Republic looks promising. Despite its small scene, hip-hop in the Central African Republic is kept alive by passionate fans, and it's fair to say that they haven't had all the conditions to make the genre grow. As time goes, more opportunities for growth will arise. However, the genre can also be reduced to such a small stage that it becomes totally insignificant in the country. Hip-hop made its way to Chad in the late 80s. In the street of N'Djamena, the capital, the genre quickly gained traction among Chadian youth who would party on hip-hop rhythms and adopt elements of the culture, such as the dance and the demeanor. Initially, much of the Chadian hip-hop scene mirrored the American one, with rappers imitating US artists. However, as the genre developed locally, Chadian artists began to incorporate local elements like French and verlan, a type of French slang which consists of flipping every word, coupled with the use of local languages such as Chadian Arabic, a local dialect that allowed artists to connect more deeply with local audiences. Among the numerous groups of this period, we have les banlieusards, who were one of the first to reach a mainstream local audience with the genre. In the 2000s, many hip-hop related events and festivals started to see the light of the day, and hip-hop was included in general urban celebrations. The future of hip-hop in Chad holds promise, with the increasing use of social media platforms and the growing exposure of scenes from neighboring countries which still have a great impact on the global music industry. We can assume that more Chadians will be drawn to the genre and will contribute to expand it even more. However, its slow growth over the years shows that the genre and the country's music industry is still facing some important challenges. Hip-hop in the Democratic Republic of Congo first emerged in the 90s, brought by a mix of local youth's exposure to American rap music and the global hip-hop culture, particularly from the francophone scene. As hip-hop spread across Africa, young people in DRC began to incorporate the genre into their lives, rapping in French, Lingala, and other local languages, while using it as a tool to address social, political, and cultural issues. Over the years, the genre gained traction in a country with a rich
rich musical culture, particularly in the youth from urban areas and the youth from the diaspora. From the 2000s until now, Congolese hip-hop has been echoing around the continent and beyond thanks to Congolese artists being present in the global francophone scene. Hip-hop in DRC tackled various themes from social issues, the ongoing conflict in some region of the country, the contrast between the potential of the country and its current state, to life on the street and general entertainment. The local Congolese hip-hop scene is not quite big despite having a recognized place in a saturated music industry. However, the Congolese diaspora has been making waves for the past 20 years with its Congolese artists dominating the charts in France and Belgium, having their success echoes around the whole francophone scene. Such artists include Youssoufa, a Congolese rapper based in France, who is one of the most internationally recognized Congolese hip-hop artists due to his lyrical prowess through the years. Nino, also based in France, who cemented himself as a pioneer of the new generation of French hip-hop music. Gims, a talented and versatile artist who reached global success with his group and in solo. And Damso, who is considered for many as the greatest rapper out of the Belgium scene, him too being Congolese. We can go on, but those are amongst the most notable to name a few. Over the years, the hip-hop scene in DRC has grown both in size and influence. Today, many Congolese hip-hop artists have global followings, particularly within Africa and the diaspora. The digital age has also facilitated collaborations with artists from other countries, further diversifying the sound of DRC's hip-hop scene. The future of hip-hop in DRC looks promising. It's impossible to say the opposite when seeing how Congolese rappers position themselves globally. The main challenge for Congolese hip-hop will be to build and grow a local scene as strong as its diaspora to really establish the country as a force to be reckoned with. Hip-hop in Equatorial Guinea, one of Africa's smallest countries, is a relatively niche but growing subculture that reflects the diverse cultural influences of this bilingual nation, speaking Spanish and French officially. Hip-hop culture began to make its way into Equatorial Guinea in the late 90s and early 2000s, following the global rise of the genre in the US and other African countries. The genre's appeal grew primarily among the youth, who were drawn to its raw expression of urban realities, identity, and protest. Like in many African countries, hip-hop was first introduced through radio stations, music videos, and later the internet. Equatorial Guinea, which is a Spanish-speaking country for the most part, with a rich mix of ethnic groups, has a diverse cultural heritage that also includes influences from neighboring countries like Cameroon and Gabon, as well as the broader African continent. As a result, the local hip-hop scene is a blend of traditional African sounds, modern beats, and international rap styles. Some of the key themes in Equatorial Guinean hip-hop include social and political commentary, as Equatorial Guinea, under the long-standing rule of President Teodoro Obiang and his family, has faced significant challenges related to political repression, human rights abuses, and economic inequality. While the language of hip-hop in Equatorial Guinea is often Spanish, many artists incorporate local languages such as Fon and Bubi to connect more directly with their communities. Artists often express pride in their cultural heritage while blending global rap styles with local musical traditions. The influence of neighboring countries, particularly from Central Africa like Gabon and Cameroon, can also be heard in the music. Hip-hop in Equatorial Guinea is still in its early stages of development, and the hip-hop in the country is more consumed than produced, despite young people in different regions of the country embracing and experimenting with the genre. Plus, the genre faces many challenges as it is not seen from a good eye by a considerable number of the population, particularly the authorities, who use tools like censorship as a way to prevent hip-hop artists to have too much freedom in a country which, despite all its issues, is quite stable and really small. Lack of infrastructure in the industry and limited exposure doesn't help the growth of the genre in the country, and as of today, the future of hip-hop in Equatorial Guinea doesn't depend solely on the interest it generates, but on other factors that affect the country as a whole. However, there is a scene and a public for hip-hop which can be used as foundations for considerable growth. When it comes to Gabon, hip-hop first made its way into the country during the late 80s and early 90s. The Gabonese youth got introduced to the genre via media's outlets such as TV radio, but also in formal ways such as pirated music and compilations mixtapes. DJs from Libreville and big cities like Port-Gentil have always prided themselves in bringing new sounds to their audiences. Hip-hop music and culture became popular with youth embracing all elements of the culture, DJing, graffiti and dance, and rap music in a lower measure at first. During the 90s, violent national manifestations took place due to the youth being irritated by the power structures of the bongos who led the country for decades. It's in this context that rap music really started to find a voice in the country, with many local existing groups voicing up their opinions and relaying the frustration of the population. However, early access to hip-hop in Gabon was mostly a luxury of kids from well-off families, so when groups from these social classes started making music against the system, they were attacked by groups from popular classes, denouncing a form of hypocrisy, posing the basis of a dynamic that will be found in Gabonese hip-hop as it progresses. Groups from this period include Gunter's Family, V2A4, and Siapo CX. In the early 90s, the first hip-hop radio and TV shows started to air, helping at popularizing the genre. In the mid-90s, around 95, the collective Buck Drama, which included future notorious groups of the country hip-hop history, such as Raboun and Mauvaise Haleine, saw the light of day. A few years later, other groups like Aïeux, who also had a serious impact, followed. The scene kept being dynamic until the 2000s period, during which the aforementioned groups reached their peak and gained recognition nationally and above the borders. The 2000s and early 2010s is considered until today as the golden age of Gabonese hip-hop, as the country was fully immersed into the genre. In 2003, the label IBN Entertainment, who is probably the most influential to date, was created. The label, which was more like a collective, included the main figure of the group Raboun, Bapunga, a pioneer of the genre in the country, Koba, who became the most influential rapper of that time, and many other talented artists such as the R&B duo La Fuente. Together, they dominated the charts and shifted the sound of Gabonese hip-hop from a platform for activism and social issues to something more bling-bling, totally different and unprecedented on the scene. And it worked, paving the way for commercial rap and urban music. Many other groups and individual acts gained in notoriety during this period, as hip-hop was dominating the charts, even in front of the other local urban genres. We can also mention the female rapper Tina, who was the figure of female hip-hop artist in the country for many years. Gabonese hip-hop music got recognition around the continent, and with many hip-hop events, the country offered a platform for international artists to come produce themselves in Gabon. During the 2010s, hip-hop growth slowed down principally due to the lack of renewal, as the generation after the one from the 2000s failed to take over. Hip-hop was still being heavily influential on the youth, but lost ground to local genres and continental relatable music such as highlife and Afrobeat. The underground scene grew as the youth discovered platforms such as SoundCloud and Audiomack. Underground rappers managed to generate local buzz, but almost never translated to mainstream success. As a result, many hip-hop artists transitioned to other genres such as Cham, currently the biggest genre in the country, which is always being put in competition with hip-hop. Also, another issue is that the Gabonese hip-hop artists have always faced challenges related to its industry, like the lack of copyright, which has been one of the main themes in Gabonese hip-hop. Despite the popularity of the genre and the success of the music, hip-hop artists principally lives off performances and in a way depends on the state, as it provides the biggest platforms and the biggest checks. In that regard, many artists went from activism to supporting the power in place and back and forth, which made the genre lose credibility. Today, the scene is still active, with artists like Rod Zeng being one of the main active figures, and rappers like Benjamin Epps, who now based in France, gained the first BET for Gabonese hip-hop in 2002. Hip-hop in Gabon is a dynamic and evolving cultural movement that continues to serve as a voice for the country's youth. It provides a platform for social and political commentary, youth empowerment and cultural pride, while also offering a space for innovation and artistic expression. While the scene faces challenges, the genre has the potential to continue growing and contributing to the wider African music landscape. Hip-hop arrived in the Republic of Congo in the 80s and early 90s. As in many African nations, hip-hop became popular in urban centers like Brazzaville, the capital, and Pointe-Noire, the country's second largest city. The youth of the country was curious about the genre and was inspired by the fact that other countries were doing it in French. In the Republic of the Congo, hip-hop was initially popularized by underground groups, often among the urban poor, who saw the genre as a way to challenge traditional cultural norms and express their dissatisfaction with political and economic conditions. The genre stayed underground until the 2000s, where the interest for it grew and Congolese artists of the time started creating an hybrid sound by fusioning elements of traditional Congolese music like soukous and rumba with hip-hop beats, a song similar to that of their neighbors of DRC. Over the years, the Congolese hip-hop scene had a slow, steady growth and is still mainly underground despite its obvious popularity. Congolese youth consume a lot of hip-hop and seems to favor international acts over the local scene. However, some rappers managed to gain a solid following, such as Makalba Malashek, considered by many as the greatest rapper to date locally, and Niska, a French rapper from Congolese origin who's probably the most accomplished artist out of the country. Hip-hop has become a space for self-expression and cultural identity. Artists use their lyrics and beats to represent the rich cultural heritage of the Republic of Congo, while also looking outward to global hip-hop trends. Its future is likely bright despite the challenges the genre is facing, such as a relatively small scene and industry, coupled with the competition of other local genres. However, hip-hop still speaks to the Congolese youth, and with the increasing popularity of the genre globally, and particularly in other African countries, it will definitely draw more people in. In Sao Tome and Principe, hip-hop is a relatively small but emerging cultural force. The country, an island nation located in the Gulf of Guinea off the coast of Central Africa, has a rich cultural heritage, but its music scene is still developing compared to other African nations. Hip-hop began to find its way into Sao Tome and Principe in the late 90s and early 2000s, primarily influenced by global trends from the United States, as well as the wider African hip-hop movement and the rise of hip-hop tuga, the Portuguese version of hip-hop adopted by all Portuguese-speaking countries. Over time, local artists began to incorporate their own experiences, language, and cultural references into their music, creating a unique blend of global rap influences with local sounds and rhythms. Hip-hop artists from Sao Tome and Principe use their music to express frustration with inequality and the challenges of everyday life, while also calling for greater opportunities and social change. In a country with a relatively small population, around 200,000 people, cultural identity plays a central role in the music. Local hip-hop artists often reflect a deep pride in local traditions, African roots, and a desire to promote national unity. The hip-hop scene in Sao Tome and Principe is still developing, with fewer globally recognized stars than other African nations. The small population and the lack of exposure doesn't facilitate its expansion. Moreover, as the nation continues to develop economically and culturally, there may be opportunities for local artists to thrive, with better access to music production tools, educational programs, and platforms to showcase their work.
Comfortably sitting on my sofa, smoking, floating on this fine air, reflecting on storm. So far, I'm so far from where I come from, so far from it all.